Welcome back to the My Latin Life podcast. Since 2014, My Latin Life has been your trusted guide to traveling and living in Latin America. My guest today is Lindsay Stamp. She's a Twitter personality where she talks about personal finance and, in my opinion, is very good at Twitter. And so she really caught my attention. And even though she doesn't really have too much of a Latin America spin at all, I think, to what she does, I thought it was still worth the podcast to talk about personal finance. I think you have some really good tips to share with people for that. And then I also wanted to kind of ask you about Twitter strategy as well, because you tweet some bangers. So, Lindsay, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vance. I'm excited, looking forward to talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So where do we want to kick things off? I know you have almost all your tweets are very good. That's one thing that I noticed is that all of your tweets are meant to be at least like a base hit tweet. You know what I mean? Like at least if it's not a knock it out of the park, it's at least like a solid, try to get like the 60 plus likes, at least 100 plus, 5,000 impressions type of thing. And I feel like every one of your tweets kind of fits like a minimum quality standard, I would say.
Yes. Yeah, you're spot on. My strategy has always been very different, I think, than a lot of other content creators, if you want to say, because I've always I started posting 9 months ago, and my strategy has always been that I would only post one tweet a day. So I started out just at the same time every single day in the morning before I start at work, posting my tweet. And I put a lot of thought into my tweets. And what I do is like, I have a thought, it comes to my mind, I write it, I save it in the drafts, and then I like fine tune it a little bit, like read it over a few times, make sure it really hits the way I want it to hit. And then I post it at the same time every day. And it's grown a little bit from there to where like sometimes I'll post twice. I don't think I've ever posted 3 times in a day. But I think that what my strategy has been is like have a good message, but the main thing is engaging with other people, making friends, and posting on other people, commenting on other people's posts. Because what happens is, like, if you post on 25 different tweets a day, a lot of those people are going to come back and post on your tweet. If you have posted 10 tweets in the same day, you might get all of them to post one comment on your 10 tweets, meaning you might get 2 comments on each of your tweet. Instead of when you have one tweet posted, all of them come and post on one tweet, which then creates more impressions, engagement, likes, retweets, things like that. And then it snowballs from there. So I've just kind of concentrated on having one really solid tweet, lots of engaging, and then the people that I know are going to come to my tweet, come to my tweet.
Okay, interesting. And what time of the day do you do your tweet?
I post at like 8:30 a.m. Eastern every day because I get up and I go to work, and then I have my tweet ready. I go, I engage a little bit, I post it, and then I start working and I respond to comments throughout the day.
I see. And just 21 hours ago at the time of this recording, in mid-May, you wrote, "Today I hit 7,000 followers, which blows my mind. It wasn't that long ago that I would spend hours writing content only for it to receive five likes and invoke very minimal conversation, LOL. Now I have the chance to learn from and interact with some of my favorite creators on a regular basis. Thank you for 7,000." And that generated 92 comments, which is very impressive as well.
Yeah, I think like it shocks me. Like every time I post something and I get the response that I get, it always surprises me. But I really think that those 90 people or whatever it was, like I know those people. Like I've talked in the DMs to those people. They know, with them. They know me. We've, been tweeting at each other and engaging with each other's content for almost a year. So I've made friendships with these people. These are people like I have their phone numbers. I text. I talk to them in DMs. People I've talked on phone calls, Zoom calls. Like I've just made a lot of friends on the internet because I don't have a lot of people in my real life that I can talk about personal finance with.
Mm. Where are you based, by the way?
I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Okay. That's interesting. And I wish there was a way to, I think Twitter needs to make it a little bit easier to see like a highlight reel of tweets, because I know you have good ones. Like I know every time I see your tweets, I'm kind of like, yep, that was pretty good type of thing. But you're like one of those people that consistently gets engagement and um, interaction and good tweets, like well in excess of your, like just proportional to your follower count. So even if you only have 7K, or when I first started seeing you, maybe you had like 3, 4, 5K followers, you were getting disproportional uh, interaction and success with your tweets because they're all like really good, as I mentioned. Um, Maybe talk a little bit more about some of your strategy. Did you copy other people's formula for success, or did you spend a lot of time DMing people and kind of building like informal engagement groups? Or
No, I've never been in any kind of engagement group, and I want to like put that out there. I've never like paid for retweets or paid for comments or paid for likes or anything like that. Like everything that I've done has been 100% organic, and I wouldn't want it any other way. I think my thought from the very beginning was like, I'm going to post content that I like. And if nobody else likes it and nobody else engages with it, like that's cool because I like it. So I think I've always kind of looked at my content from a perspective of, if I was scrolling, would I like that tweet? Would I retweet that? Would I comment on it? Like if it's something that I would engage with, then I post it, if I like it. And I try to, go that direction. But I will say that like a main thing on Twitter is being a good writer. Like
Mhm.
I went to, throwing it back a little bit, I went to um, a preparatory school, which was like an international baccalaureate school for high school, a private school that was, a really good school. And one of the main things that we had to do in order to graduate was write. Like we wrote papers and reports, and like I constantly wrote. And that is something that I've been really good at in high school and in college. And like I would write content way before I ever posted my first tweet 9 months ago. I just would write stuff that my thoughts that I wanted to get on paper. But at the time, I was too scared to like put it out to the world. And so I think like an underrated skill for growing on Twitter is like being good at writing. Like, how your sentence structure is, sentences that aren't
Yeah,
too long,
you
not too
you
short.
good. You make use of space very well, and like
Yes.
starting new lines.
Yes, doing that is massive. And I think like what you need to understand too is like if somebody's trying to get impressions or trying to grow, is you need to understand like how the algorithm works, which is you need to get people to click into your tweet. So if you post something that's like one line or two lines and people can just scroll right by it and read it and they're not interested in clicking into it and seeing the comments, then you're going to get less impressions. So there's an art to like writing things in a way that people want to see what the comments are. People want to see like, do others agree with this? Do they disagree with this? And not engagement farming or asking questions 24/7 or always being, trying to invoke some sort of anger from people. It's just a matter of like thinking in the back of your mind, how do I get people to be interested
Mhm.
in what's next?
Yeah, that makes sense. Clicking on the actual thing instead of just like is definitely key. I noticed you do a mix of, you do some stories where it's, taking advantage of the, what do you call it, the longer format, and then some are just like quick bangers with like point one, point two, boom. And then so you do kind of like a mix of different formats, I would say.
Yes. And a lot of that has to do with like what I said before about how long people are on your post. And if they want to go to the comments, that has a lot to do with impressions. So if you have a longer form post, it takes them longer to read it. and the longer they're on your post, the better. But the other thing is, I get really tired of reading threads. Like if somebody's like, these 12 ways or how I grew my wealth, and it's like a little thread icon, and I know I'm gonna have to read 12 tweets, like I usually scroll by those because I just don't like have it in me a lot of times to like read these long drawn out things. So that's why I don't post long forms and threads all the time, because sometimes I think people just don't want to read that stuff. They just want to read something short that hits and keep it moving. So that's why I try to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, like with the threads, I'm kind of like, I see what this guy's doing here. He wants a thread because he wants retweets or bookmarks or something, but like this content probably could have been organized into a single tweet.
Exactly.
Yeah, you do good like story ones where you say like last year we got a new auto policy on our 2019 Honda. And then I'm like, okay, what's gonna happen? Like, is she gonna get a deal on car insurance or something? What's gonna happen here?
Yeah, it's like that hook, you got to like hook people in with something interesting. Um yeah, there's like just the craziest tweets pop off. Like I just have to say that. Like of all my tweets last week, if you would have told me the one about car insurance would get like 2 or 300,000 impressions, I would have told you that's crazy. But the algorithm just likes weird and different stuff sometimes that even shocks me.
Yeah, I definitely try to mix it up as well. Like some will be like I try not to have like the same style of tweet, too many of them in a row. So it's like if I do one or two or three text only tweets, then the next one might be a quote tweet or a photo or some other type of content style. So it's not just all text or not just all lists or something.
Yeah, I have to get better at that. I gotta up my photo video game.
Well, no, I mean, whatever you're doing is definitely working. I'm sure maybe some of the audience is kind of like, dude, like getting into a little too much detail about Twitter right now. But maybe some people like it as well. I mean, if you want to, learn how to grow on Twitter, this is definitely good stuff.
Yeah, I would just want to say like I never like started out posting thinking that my account was going to grow. I was just like I want to document my own life and things that I come across that are interesting and my investing journey, and if I see other people that want to go along with it, cool, and if not, like that's great. And I try to always keep that mentality cuz I, even myself, and I know other people that I've talked to, end up taking Twitter way too seriously, and it doesn't need to be that. It just should be fun and lighthearted, and I always tried to keep that perspective in the back of my mind too.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, and people say like, "Oh, I don't know how," or I don't know, just people don't do it, and it's like you're the perfect example. It's like, look, I know this girl, Lindsay. She does one tweet a day, and she gets like 40,000 views per tweet. You know what I mean? Less than a year, one tweet a day.
Yeah, it
Who
does.
can't do one tweet a day about personal finance? All you just say is, "I paid off my car. Now I feel financially free." Boom.
Yeah, you don't have to think up 15 different tweets a day or anything. Don't have to do that.
Yeah. Do you think I do too much? Because I do. I tweet basically every hour.
Do you really?
Yeah.
How do you like think all of that up, or is this like your main gig? You know, your business?
No, it's not. It's never been my main thing. I don't know. I guess I'm just really passionate about Latin America, so a lot of things come to me.
Okay. Well, that more power to you. Because I don't think I could think up like that many good personal finance things a day. I think I would just be annoyed with myself. So maybe your like niche and content is different that allows you to do that too.
It does. It helps that I can just be like Colombia in like a photo and stuff like that. So you can kind of get away with some low effort ones. But I feel with the personal finance, there does need to be a higher minimum level of effort and quantity and value and kind of I mean, a story can be valuable too, obviously, but like you also do value ones. Maybe let's actually dive into some personal finance principles a little bit because I do a lot of I've done like sales calls and stuff where I talk to a lot of people, and I'm always just surprised how people have like no money to deploy and how many people are really living like paycheck to paycheck. Um, that wasn't the best lead in, but maybe you could tell us a little bit of some of your personal finance principles. Maybe we can start with the car ones, like, how having a car is a liability, and I think you have some unique thoughts about that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say all of my, personal finance takes come from all of the mistakes that I made in my 20s. I haven't always been smart with my finances. I was a regular, what I would say a regular, 22-year-old who graduated college, and I bought my first car, and because I had got a job, and this was the first time I ever had money. And I bought a Jeep Wrangler that cost as much as my yearly salary. And I don't know why at the time that I thought that was a smart financial decision, but I really just thought of it as, if I can afford the payment, then I can afford the car. And I think a lot of people get into that mindset where they only think about the monthly payment and not the total cost of things. And so before you know it, you have a monthly payment rent, and you have a monthly payment on your car, and you have a monthly student loan payment, and you have a monthly credit card payment. And before you know it, like, your entire month's salary is spoken for by payments. And that's exactly, the trap that I got into. And I think one of the reasons that I've been able to grow on Twitter has been openly speaking about taking on $100,000 of consumer debt. And I know that sounds like so crazy to some people, but it wasn't like I just one day signed away 100,000. It was like over the course of several years, like a car loan and a student loan and a credit card, and a personal loan and a 401k loan for a home down payment. Like, all of that grew to be 100,000 over the course of several years. And, before I knew it, I was in a situation where, I hated my job, and I was going to work every day to get a paycheck to pay off all of these things that I had agreed to. And it's a horrible way to live. And that's when I started learning about personal finance. So I would say, like, my principles now for personal finance are, you can build wealth by working a 9 to 5 job and investing your money over the long term. And so a lot of things that I've talked about on Twitter are, the very, very simple formula for building wealth or personal finance is to increase the gap between your income and your expenses and invest the gap. And then you just have to be patient and wait. But a lot of people don't have that gap. They don't have margin. They're A lot of people are spending even more than they're bringing in, and it's being covered by credit cards. And so the basics of personal finance is just get on a budget and figure out, do you have excess money every month? Are you breaking even? Are you, spending more than you make? And then once you figure that out, then you can tweak some things and come up with some money to invest every month. And the baseline is that if you don't use your income to buy assets, that you will work forever. And it's just the unfortunate reality of life with money printing and inflation and things getting more expensive, that owning assets is the only way. So that would be like the big picture, I would say, of my finance strategy.
Okay. So save money and invest it, generate passive income, build kind of the passive income snowball, invest in assets, and uh, I guess financial freedom comes through when there's a couple stages of it, but maybe when your passive income is higher than your monthly expenses.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different stages, and I would say, for me, financial freedom would be when my assets can cover my liabilities, like you said. And I think the main thing is, like, if you can avoid taking on consumer debt, like, that is something that I would do. So save, invest, buy assets, increase your income, avoid consumer debt. I mean, the only debt I have today, and the only debt I really advocate for, is mortgage debt. If you're able to get 30-year fixed rate debt, especially on a property that you plan to live at for a long time, that's the only thing that I would say I would be excited about taking on.
Right. Because, yeah, at least that's an asset. I honestly can't even understand the mindset of people that have credit card debt and live beyond their means. But maybe I've been living outside the US too long, so I haven't had to see this stuff because in Latin America, you can't even really get access to credit to live on credit. But what are people doing? Like I had some college debt when I was in my early 20s, and I treated that like an emergency. I was like, I'm below zero. This is an emergency. I need to make money and pay this off immediately. And some people were saying, "Oh no, but you like get like it's a bit of a tax rate off the interest for student loan debt or whatever." I'm just like, you know what? Screw it. I just want to pay this off immediately. I just want to get to zero. I'm gonna feel a lot better about my life. And that's what I did is I just paid off my student debt immediately, got to zero, maybe a year after graduating. And I've just never, gone below zero since, just kept building the snowball. And so I just can't even understand this mindset of people that would, you know, maybe get a loan on a car and they'd put themselves below zero or something like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of what goes on in the United States, and I mean, I'm sure you know this, even if you don't live in the United States now. A lot of people, and this has been said before. I'm not the person that first originally said this, but a lot of people spend money they don't have to buy things that they don't even care about to impress people that they don't even know or like. Like people are so about keeping up with the Joneses, and like people are obsessed with looking rich instead of actually being rich, that I think that they're
Mm-hmm.
willing to go into credit card debt to buy a Gucci belt so that they can look like they're doing well. And I think that that's a consumerism, hyper consumerism attitude and mindset in the United States that, you know, is horrible. I think the amount of people who are living on credit cards because they can't afford their lifestyle is increasing as of late, but I don't think that's always been an excuse. I think a lot of people go into debt for things that they want to buy, like stuff, materialism,
Mm-hmm.
because they don't want to take the time, save up the money that it costs, and then buy it. They want it now. They want instant gratification. So instead of working hard and saving up and buying what you want, they just put it on credit because then they can have it now.
One other observation about your account is it doesn't seem specifically geared towards women or like women's personal finance. It actually almost seems more male centric to me. You know what I mean? Um, is there a reason behind that? Am I onto something there?
Um, I wouldn't necessarily say you're onto something, but I would say that by nature, I'm more of like, I have more like masculine energy, I guess. Like I'm married, but I have a wife. So I don't know if that means anything, but I'm naturally friends with a lot of guys. So guys are my friends. And I think that the personal finance space um, lacks a lot of women in it in general. Like, I think that we need more women in the space, more women mentorship. I think
Hmm.
there's a few creators in the personal finance space that are women that I really, really enjoy and love talking to. But I think it's super male dominated. And I think one of the reasons for that is I think women are intimidated to talk about finance with only guys, and I'm not. So, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I mean, it's not like save money on Sephora or something like that. Like it's it's more like um I guess broader audience.
Yeah, I don't even go to Sephora or Ulta. I don't really even dive into
What's
makeup.
Ulta? Is that the new
So,
one?
yeah, Ulta, that's another makeup place.
That's the new Sephora?
Yeah.
See, I'm out the game. I'm out the game. I don't know what Ulta is.
You're enjoying your life in Latin America. You don't even need to know about it.
I think what I'll do as well is I'll just periodically read some tweets of yours
Okay.
over the next 30 minutes of our conversation, and you could just uh, speak to some of it. So, this past weekend, we had our neighbor over for dinner. His name is Duke. He's 82 years old. He bought his house next door in 1967 for $22,500. His parents wanted him to buy in a more expensive neighborhood, but the homes were $30,000 and he said he couldn't afford it. I don't know what's more wild, buying your first house at 25 and living in it for the rest of your life, or paying 22,500 for a 27 square foot home on half an acre.
Interesting, right? I moved into this house in December of 2023, so just 6 months ago. And my neighbor right next door, I met him on move-in day, and he's in his 80s, and he lives there all by himself. And we just started chatting it up. He has a riding lawnmower. He has a snow blower, so I would use his snow blower when it would snow to clean my driveway. I would use his riding lawnmower to cut the grass. I would cut his grass, and then we just started talking and hanging out, and started inviting him over for dinner. And I would be out smoking pork or smoking a brisket or something, and I'd invite him over. And he just, I think, wants to talk and wants to make conversation, because he lives over there by himself, and his kids and grandkids don't live around. And I've just enjoyed like talking to people from other generations. And yeah, that just so happened to be a tweet that I think was a little bit controversial, because I think what people in the comments were saying is like $22,500 in whatever year he bought it is equal to like
They're doing the math or
250,000.
whatever. It doesn't matter. I mean, I've seen a lot of content like this get popular where they'll like go to a Home Depot and they'll be like, "How much do you pay for your house?" And people will be like, 20 grand. Um,
Yes.
I'll read some other ones.
Yeah.
Okay, age 25, negative 75,000 net worth. In a job I hated, escaping reality every weekend, one property. Still not bad, one property. Age 30, positive net worth. Good job and doing real estate on the side. Working on my goals every weekend, four properties.
I come a long way, Vance.
Are all the properties in Pittsburgh?
Two of them are in Pittsburgh, and then two of them are in Erie, which is on like up near Lake Erie, so like 2 hours north of Pittsburgh.
In Pennsylvania.
Yep.
I heard, I think I saw a stat that Pittsburgh home prices are like one of the lowest in the country.
Yeah, I think we're number 5, I want to say, for like most affordable. It
Hmm.
definitely depends on like the neighborhood and the suburb that you're in. But yeah, I bought the house that I live in right now. It is a 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom ranch with a finished basement. It's about 2,000 square feet on half an acre, and I paid $250,000 for it. So very reasonable. You can tap into real estate here for sure.
I think a lot of real estate people got into it by buying sort of fixer uppers in upstate New York and Maine and
I know. Yeah, I know.
rural Massachusetts and stuff.
Yeah. And where are you from? Are you from Canada originally?
Yeah, I'm Canadian American.
Okay. How long ago did you move to Latin America?
Over 5 years.
And do you rent there?
I do rent.
Okay. Is that your plan long term?
Yeah, yeah. I think renting's good. I think owning real estate is good, but then renting the place that you live in.
Okay, interesting. Is that more so you have flexibility to move around?
Yeah, definitely. I'm still pretty mobile. I still have a deep desire to see the world.
Fair enough. Me too.
I'll try to hit a couple more bangers. See
All
what we
right.
got here. You do this time is money one a lot. Maybe we got to expand on this. Kind of the opposite of, I don't know if you took this from Lawrence King or something, who says you have no time, but yours is time is money is one of the biggest lies we've ever been told. Time is infinitely more valuable than money. If someone told you today they'd wire you $1 million, you take it in a heartbeat, right? Now, if that person also told you, anyway, um, the
That's
point is that you think time is money, or sorry, you think you think that people shouldn't be stressed, and I almost need to cut this. I'm losing my train of thought, but your theory is that we actually have infinite time and that we shouldn't be stressed.
So my theory is that time is greater than money. So when people say time is money, that means that time is equal to money. And I don't agree with that. I think time is way more valuable than money. And I think that the longer you spend your time trading your time for money, the worse that is. So the
Right.
goal is obviously to get your finances right, buy assets, have passive income, have money coming in from other sources so that you can spend your time the way you want to spend it, however that is. As opposed to just, spending 40 hours a week working a job forever until you're 65 so that you can have, your time for 10 years until you die. That is not a life that I want to live. And that's why I'm so passionate about the building wealth journey, the financial freedom journey, and why I'm so, pushed to have it by 40, because I want to be able to enjoy the second half of my life, have a family. Hopefully we'll have kids by then, and not be trading my time for money every single day and missing my kids grow up or missing
Yep.
time with my parents or my siblings or my friends. So that's definitely where that comes from.
Okay, yeah, I think, I would agree with that. I think Lawrence King would agree with that too. You're basically saying time is more important than money, and you shouldn't trade your time for money, and you should have your money work for you.
Yes, 100%.
Okay. Read one more here. Lower class, the purpose of money is to pay bills and buy stuff. Middle class, the purpose of money is to create and maintain good credit. Upper class, the purpose of money is to create more money. Our money psychology is the biggest determining factor in our financial success.
I stand by that 100%. How you grew up around money, how the people closest to you managed money when you were growing up has a massive, um, you know, it's huge on how you see and view money. If your parents were super frugal and they came from poor family, and they hoarded money, or they were always, on a budget and always trying to save and always, trying to pinch pennies and use coupons, like, not that there's anything wrong with those things, but that's a scarcity mindset. If you come from if you're around people who believe that money is abundant, that there's money all around me, I can get money doing anything I want. Money transacts hands every single day. Billions of dollars, is in circulation every single day. And I am good at making money. I can make it, I can multiply it, I can grow it. How those people view money is going to be very different than the people that grew up penny pinching and couponing and just thinking like money is scarce. And I like firmly believe in that lower middle and upper class about how they, let me get a job so I can pay my bills, or let me get a job so I can get another line of credit, or let me get money so I can buy assets that will bring me more money. Like, those are three very distinct layers, I think.
Hey guys, quick break from the podcast to tell you about job stacking. If you're a remote or hybrid worker looking to maximize your earning potential, then Rolf Haltza, author of Job Stacking, guarantees you'll be able to double your income by implementing his paycheck multiplication layering method. This is the exact system Rolf has used to take his own income and those of many others beyond $20K a month. With this method, Rolf contractually guarantees that you'll be able to double your income in 45 days. So, if you're interested in unleashing your earning potential and doubling your income, then click the link in the description and book a call with Rolf right now. Hey guys, quick break from the episode to tell you about BitRefill. BitRefill allows you to shop online and in person without banks, converting your crypto directly into merchant balance. We're talking gift cards to Nike, Amazon, Apple, Airbnb, Hotels.com, and many more, all paid for with crypto. BitRefill offers more than 10,000 gift card options in 180 countries all across Latin America, including Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, Argentina, El Salvador, and many more. You can also apply the code MyLatinLife at checkout to get 10% back on your first purchase. Go to bitrefill.com for more information.
And how has your mindset changed even after you kind of decided to make the shift and pay off your consumer debt, you've probably had even a couple money epiphanies since then.
Oh yeah. I think like certain things that I believe and feel about money change, and then certain things are always a constant. Like I grew up in a family where um my dad had come from a poor family and my mom had come from an entrepreneurial family where her dad was always running businesses and starting businesses, and some businesses would do really really well and other businesses would not do really well. So sometimes they had a ton of money and sometimes they didn't have much money. And my dad came from a single parent household, was very poor. And so I think the main thing they wanted from me and my brother was stability. But I also saw them both working two jobs to put us through high school. And I saw them, worrying about money in a sense, wanting to be able to pay the bills and take one vacation a year was the goal. And that originally was my goal. Like, let me get a 9 to 5 job. Let me make sure I can pay the bills. If I can take a trip a year, great, but I'm probably going to be working forever. That's how I started. That's how I spent the first, 5 years of my life after college. And that's how I got into the debt I got into. And then I realized, like, you don't have to work a 9 to 5 forever. You can make different decisions. You can buy assets. You can build wealth. You can have a different reality. But I think my mindset went from more of a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset because of studying personal finance, the people that I met, mentors that I had, books that I read, podcasts I listened to. Like, this has been a long journey of growth.
Hmm. And beyond real estate, I imagine you diversify, or are you 100% real estate? You talk about how you invest in your 401k, maybe in the stock market as well. You've mentioned crypto. Do you have an ideal portfolio allocation to these things?
Yeah, I would say like about 2/3 of my net worth is real estate, a little less than 2/3. About 1/3 is stocks and Bitcoin. I just recently, in the last 6 months, started learning about Bitcoin. So, I wish 10 years ago I would have bought it, and we'd be having probably a very different conversation here today. But I diversify amongst all of them: real estate, single family homes, 401k, Roth IRA, taxable brokerage account, and Bitcoin.
Okay, I like it. And how do you see yourself expanding in the future?
That's a great question. That's something that I've kind of been wrestling with the last few months, and I think that's come through in a few of my posts. Like, I'm kind of at a crossroads where I don't have a huge interest in growing my real estate portfolio right now. And if you would have told me, a year ago that I would feel this way, I probably wouldn't believe it. But for the last 4 years, we've bought one property per year. And I think we had thought that we were going to continue buying one per year for the foreseeable future until we got to, 8, 10 properties. And now that we're at four and we kind of have things moving along in a good direction, we're more interested in growing our allocation to stocks and to Bitcoin, to things that we can buy that don't, involve tenants and toilets and
Hmm.
paying rent and
It's been a bit of a
maintenance
headache.
and property taxes and everything. We've been pretty fortunate. We've had some good tenants, not a lot of issues, but we also have done some major renovations to the properties that weren't cheap. And as you know, I'm sure that in Canada and in the United States, like, property taxes and insurance has been going nutty, and that obviously
Hmm.
affects the monthly payment on real estate and your cash flow and all those kinds of things. Not to say there still aren't good deals out there, but it's definitely harder to find good deals that cash flow with the price of properties, the interest rates, and then those things on top of it.
So you kind of just want to consolidate where you're at, build the home equity, and then maybe at a more opportune time. I don't
Yeah,
know. buy some multiplex or something?
Potentially. But yes, that's the goal right now. One of the 4 properties is paid off. 3 of them have mortgages on them. We're very lucky that 2 of those mortgages, we got one of them in 2020 and one in 2021. So they're each 3% interest, fixed 30-year mortgages, which you can't beat. So I'm in no real hurry to pay them off.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But I also just am not like really trying to take on new ones right now either. Like 4 is good for me. We cash flow them and live in one, obviously, and then we just funnel the rest of everything into stocks and Bitcoin, and it's the lazy investor way.
How do you buy your Bitcoin? Do you do it in like a tax advantage way?
I buy it on River. I don't buy it in I don't buy any of the ETFs or anything. I just buy actual Bitcoin off River, and then I currently have a hot wallet, and I'm educating myself on cold storage.
What's River? I haven't seen this one.
I love River because when you set up recurring buys, you don't pay any fees. So if you want to do a weekly recurring or monthly or whatever cadence you want to do, if it's recurring, you don't pay any fees.
Specifically for recurring.
Yep. If you just do one-time buys here and there, you'll pay a fee just like any other brokerage.
That's kind of cool. So is that what you have set up?
Yeah, I buy Bitcoin on there every Friday.
Every Friday?
Yeah. Yep, and sprinkle in a few extra buys here and there when I'm liking the price.
I think I saw a tweet from you that was like, it's Friday, so I'm buying Bitcoin and smoking pork or something.
Yeah, I was smoking pork on the Traeger, and I was getting ready to have some family over and drink an IPA and buy some Bitcoin.
Okay, now I get that more. Okay, Bitcoin Day every Friday.
Yep.
So how have you been able to grow maybe some of your other income sources or passive income? Have you been able to turn this Twitter thing into a source of income at all? You probably get like half decent, $100 every 2 weeks, but I'm sure, but you have a lot more capability to monetize than that.
Yeah, I monetized on Twitter in January. And I think I've made, I don't know, I'm like right around $1,000 on it from my payouts, which is honestly not anything compared to how much time we spend on there. But it's fun, and I really put every single paycheck I get from Twitter into Bitcoin. So that makes it a little bit more fun. But my passive income sources, if you will, I work a 9-to-5 job. My wife works a 9-to-5 job. So there's obviously active income. We make passive income from our rentals. And then majority of like what we're invested in both Roth IRAs, 401ks, brokerage is, majority is like Vanguard index funds and ETFs, and a small position in SCHD, which pays a dividend. But like VT Sachs, VTI, VTIAX, the international funds, they all pay dividends. So we do that, but we reinvest all of it. So we don't see any of that money. We just put it right back in. And that's pretty much it right now. I mean, dividends, rentals, some side money that I make from Twitter, and then our main sources of income, which we both focus on growing, climbing the corporate ladder, if you will, but just getting promoted, at work and
Yep.
different responsibilities to make more money.
Yeah, we definitely, I definitely believe that you have to have high earned income too. People want to, jump into the stock market full time with 10K or something. It's like, that's not how it works. You need to have high income to then take those earnings and invest in the passive income.
Yeah, I've actually made a post about that before, and it was controversial, I guess, because what I basically said was that I think on social media, passive income is overhyped, because people have like 16 different passive income sources that all bring in like a few dollars every month, when they could just be focused on one form of active income and probably make a lot more. And the main takeaway is really like, make money at your job or whatever, however you choose to make money, your business or whatever. Focus on that. And when that's making a lot of money, then put that into other things and focus on growing your second one and then your third one. Like I see so many people that have like $50 coming in from this and $20 coming in from this, and they have like 7 different things that they're juggling at the same time that are all bringing in very little money, and they're spending a lot of time on it, as opposed to just like focus on the main thing, make a lot of money, and you'll be able to parlay that later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. High income, invest in boring stuff, kind of the good old American way. So you think the American dream is still alive, or you think you just got lucky getting that 3% interest rate in 2021, or a bit of both?
I think it's a bit of both, honestly. Like, I think that if you want to be successful in the United States, you can be. And I think if you want to find an excuse for why you won't be successful in the United States, you can find that too. I think that there's a lot of things negatively playing against young people today. For example, I'll use this simple stat that 80% of US dollars that are in circulation right now have been printed since 2020. Mm-hmm. So the landscape of finance, monetary policy, government printing has changed a lot in 4 years. What worked before 2020 is going to be different than what works after 2020 and 2024. So I do think that there's a lot of things playing against young people, like the cost of homes and the job market, the cost of degrees. Like there's a lot of those things that are negative. But I think if you want something bad enough, you'll find a way to make it work.
I imagine you probably get some DMs or talk to people that say, I just can't get ahead because the rent is so expensive, even with the roomie, and the jobs just aren't there, type of thing. Kind of getting by, somehow can take the video with the Starbucks, but not really in a position to save or really get ahead.
Yeah, I do get those kind of things a lot, and I do feel for people because I do think that there are certain situations where you could have a really rough time. And what I'll say is, like, if you're a single mother who works a job or 2 jobs and is trying to pay rent, and you have kids that you're taking care of and you don't have a lot of family help, like that is going to be very hard to overcome. You are going to have to do things differently than a single guy or girl who has all the time in the world to work. And my response to them would be different. It would be, how much credit card debt do you have? What's your car payment? How much are you spending on alcohol every month? How much are you spending going out? How much are you spending on vacations? Like, in order to get ahead with your finances, finance has to be a priority. And how you spend your money shows your true priorities. So if you're saying, I can't get ahead, but you spend $200 a month on booze, and you spend $100 a month on vapes, and you spend $200 on Jordans, like, then your priority is those things. And your priority is not building wealth, because if it was, you could cut those things and there you would have $500 to invest. So I think it really is dependent on the person, what their situation is, and how they spend their money to decide, is this an income problem or are they just overspending?
Mm-hmm. Definitely a lot of overspending. I'm kind of at the point now where I don't really care about like sub 100 purchases or things like that. But for a long time, when I had maybe like $2,000 to my name, and I would look at $20 as 1% of my net worth. And I would say, like, do I really want to drop 1% of my net worth right now on like this Uber or something? Or should I just walk it or bike or something?
That's such a powerful way of thinking. It's so cool that you said that. But I think there's like a lot of truth to that, where like when we were getting out of debt, when we had $100,000 in debt, like we had to put our egos to the side and humble ourselves and say, like, $20 here matters, and I need to pick up a second job, and I need to drive for DoorDash, and I'm not going to spend $15 on Taco Bell. Like, those things all matter a lot if you're in debt or you're trying to get out of debt or you've just recently broken even and you're just starting to get on the positive side.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think those things matter as much and add up as much when you don't have debt and you have a positive net worth and you have assets and you have good money coming in. Like those little purchases like aren't going to be the ones that move the needle.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it's just a lot of like little knickknacks that add up, and people just need to just not leave their wallet when they leave the house or something.
Yeah. Cut up the credit cards or something.
So I think there's a bit of both. And I think both people are right. There are some people that say you shouldn't care about the $5 Starbucks, do the math, you're only going to save like $2,000 a year type of thing. And then there are some people that say like you should, like the hardest part is getting to the first 100K, as what's his name, Charlie Munger used to say.
Mm-hmm.
He would say just do everything you can to get to 100K, because once you can get there, then it makes it a lot easier to build wealth when you have a bit of a nest egg. So there's kind of a bit of both. I think both people are right. I think everyone, I'm not sure if you've touched on this a lot, but I think everyone should have a 20K emergency fund at a minimum, and just have 20K basically cash or cash equivalents in case of emergency. So I think that that's kind of, if you were to create the ladder of financial freedom, it would be getting to zero, and then it would be 20K emergency fund, and then after that it would be, whatever it is. The next level is a little bit more negotiable. Maybe it's buy your first property, maybe it's 100K liquid net worth or something. But I feel like emergency funds really key as well.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Like just that peace of mind of like having an emergency fund and knowing, if something happens, I have this nest egg here. But I would say my approach is just slightly different in that, like, I think that the amount of your emergency fund is very subjective, because what I'll say is like, if you have a 10K per month spend, 20,000,
Right. I would say 6 months expenses at a
yeah.
minimum.
Yeah, exactly. So like 3 to 6 months is where, I would fall of like, if you only have one income source at your family, like if you're the sole provider, then I would say you got to be closer to the 6 months. If you have two income sources and both of them are stable, maybe you don't need that. Or if you have kids, or if you have a lot of debt, or if your job, is rocky where you could be laid off, like all of these things go into it. But I know people that have a year saved up. I know people that have 2 years saved up. I know people that have 5 years saved up. Like it really is like different levels to this, just depends on what you're comfortable with. But I think like that leans more to the side of like hoarding money, as opposed, because I just think it would do better invested in assets at that point instead of just sitting, doing nothing for you. But I agree. Like when you get to zero, like that's level 1. Getting an emergency fund is level 2. Investing 15% of your income, like no matter what, into 401k, Roth IRA, other assets, buying property, saving for kids' college. Like I think that's a big one in the United States, unless you want your kids to fend for themselves. Like all of that plays into like a larger financial picture.
Who have been some of your biggest inspirations? Like who did you learn personal finance from?
Yeah, so I will get absolutely torched for this one probably, but I did the Dave Ramsey debt snowball debt payoff method, and I really feel like if I had not read that book and listened to that podcast, I don't know if I would have gone full steam ahead on paying off debt, and I think that was my biggest hurdle. And then for real estate, my very first one back in the day when Bigger Pockets podcast was a great podcast, that really got me onto FIRE, financial independence, retiring early, buying real estate. One of my mentors and people that I really respect in this space, and actually the person who, encouraged me to start posting on Twitter actually is Brennan Schlagbaum, Budget Dog. And he's been posting content for years. He does a finance academy. It's called Budget Dog Academy, and it's like a 6-month mentorship where you really go from A to Z of how to make decisions about, is it the right time to pay off debt? Should you be solely paying off debt? Should you be paying off debt and investing? Should you be paying the minimum payments on debt and highly investing? What to invest in, how to allocate your money, how to budget, how to set up a balance sheet, how to set up, how to see your yearly spend, your monthly spend, setting up a will, setting up an estate, 529 plans, UTMAs, like literally a comprehensive financial picture. I worked with him a few years ago, and that was huge for growing my finance knowledge.
What did the Dave Ramsey program tell you to do?
The Dave Ramsey program said to have a 1-month emergency fund. And then basically, once you have 1 month, you then list your debts from smallest to largest by outstanding balance, regardless of interest rate. You pay off the smallest debt first. So you make a minimum payment to all the debts except the smallest. You send the minimum payment plus any leftover money from the budget to the smallest. When that one's cleared, then you go to the next one, which then has the minimum payment from 1 and 2 and all the excess money till you clear that one. Then you go to the third one, just keep rolling the money into each one until you pay them all off. And then after that, once you pay off all your debt, then it's a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. Then it's investing 15% of your income. Then it's investing in kids' college. And then it's paying off your house. And then it is giving to charity. I'm pretty sure that those are the 7 in order that he goes by. And we did something similar, but not exactly to a T.
Why do they say 15%?
He basically believes that if you invest 15% of your money into, he does 4 buckets. It's 25% of the money into each bucket. It's like growth and income, international growth, and I don't know what the fourth one is, but it's 25.
But they only want you to invest 15% of your income?
Yep.
Do they eventually say to get to 50% of your income or more?
They say, I'm trying to get this right. So you're investing 15% of your income, saving for your kids' college, and then all the excess money over 15% is supposed to go to pay off your house until your house is paid off. Once your house is paid off, then you invest as much as you want. But they value having a paid off house because the real root of the plan is to be 100% debt free so that you have no expenses, and then you don't need as much for retirement.
Okay. Sounds reasonable enough.
Yeah. I think the hate that he gets is instead people will only invest 15%, not increase it, and pay off a 2.75% mortgage. It's should you be shoveling your money into investments or paying off a 2% debt? I think that's where he gets people hung up.
Yeah, I think he does all those call-in calls that I've seen. That's all I've really seen. And people would have these, sometimes he would have some takes that were kind of bad, but I'm sure the underlying program is quite good.
Yeah, I will never talk bad about him. I will just say that I understand why some people aren't a fan.
Cool. Yeah, so I think, your income strategy is perfect. And this is just really the fundamentals that every human should be following, right? It's just insane how people get in their own ways, I would say.
Yes. That's the perfect way of putting it. Just getting in their own way. And if people can get out of their own way, they can be successful. But it's hard to believe that people make a living just saying, don't take on debt, make money and invest it. People make a living saying that, and it just seems so straightforward, but it's not today.
Yeah, I think people need to do both. I think it's okay to expect a moonshot in the future, whether it's selling your business or something like that, or some sort of large liquidity event. But you can't just not save on your way to this liquidity event. You kind of have to do both.
Yes. Yeah, I think when you see the compound interest calculator and you see like what happens if you invest $500 a month from the time you're 22 years old until you're 65, or if you put off investing until you're 35 and only invest from 35 to 65, the difference just from starting at 22 versus starting at 35 is like
Yes.
millions of dollars.
Yeah. It's like it screws up the exponential curve completely and doesn't allow it to get to that hockey stick portion.
Exactly, which is like, that's why time is such an incredible asset when it comes to investing, because the earlier you start, the less you need to put away to have that big nest egg.
Yeah, I was trying to explain this recently as well. I think a lot of people, I think this is not as appreciated because they don't really teach this in school. It's kind of like personal finance 101 if you look at some books or gurus or whatever on investing, but I don't know, people just come out of school not knowing this stuff.
Yes, I like wish I see both sides of it, but I wish it was taught in school so bad, just because I feel like I would have been interested in it then and it wouldn't have taken me so long to learn about it later. But the other argument that I've seen and heard from people, which I agree with, is like, it depends on who's teaching it. Like if it's a teacher who doesn't know how to manage their own finances and has a lot of debt and isn't, financially savvy, is that better than what you're going to get from home or from parents who are financially literate? Or, is any amount of education better than none? I don't know the answer, but it's an interesting.
I mean, the most successful people I see, they take personal finance seriously and they never stop learning because they're like, okay, like, yeah, now I got to learn about 401ks, and then, okay, now I need to learn about life insurance and this and that. We got to get to wrapping up. I got a basketball game.
Nice.
I can still picture some Pittsburgh lady with vapes and an Air Jordan hanging out at the court or something.
Yes.
Where was I going with that? Do you do like personal coaching, consulting, mentoring type of stuff?
I don't, but I'd love to start. It's like something that's been on my mind for months now, and would love to get into it. But no, as of today, no.
Okay, you should get your designation, like the CFP or one of those financial planner certifications, and go legit.
I know. I've been thinking about it. I might have to just pull the trigger.
Yeah, I mean, you'll pass the test. You don't even have to study. Maybe a little bit. Well, Lindsay, why don't you kind of take this time to give a last message, shout out to the audience, let them know where they can find you, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So I only have one social media. It's Twitter, and I can be found at Lindsay Stamp 3. And if there's one message that I could leave with everybody in the world who listens, it's you can build wealth by working a 9 to 5 and investing your income into assets over the long term. And if other people can do it, so can you.
100%. Well, this has been another episode of the My Latin Life podcast. Again, my guest today, Lindsay Stamp. She's only found on Twitter. And thank you to the audience for listening. Wherever you're listening to this, maybe it's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, please be sure to subscribe. We publish 2 episodes a week, 2 guests, 2 podcasts a week, and you won't want to miss it. Cheers.
Thank you so much.
This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by BitRefill. BitRefill is the best way to spend your crypto in Latin America. Purchase gift cards or mobile refills from more than 3,500 brands in 186 countries instantly, safely, and privately. Visit bitrefill.com for more information. This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Job Stacking. Introducing Rolf Haltza's Paycheck Multiplication Layering Method, a revolutionary approach that redefines the traditional career path. This is Rolf's new Done With You program, where he'll work with you to implement job stacking for yourself. With this method, Rolf contractually guarantees that you'll be able to double your income in 45 days. So, are you ready to step out of the shadows of job insecurity and step into a world of career abundance? Then just click the link in the description of this episode, book a call with Rolf, and start walking the path of unleashing your earning potential with job stacking.